In a dark and mysterious world, where humanity had split into two evolutionary branches, tension and violence were an everyday occurrence. The technological branch, composed of humans with robotic implants, gleaming exoskeletons, and state-of-the-art firearms, constantly clashed with the biological branch, whose members had enhanced limbs, intimidating horns, and an almost supernatural coordination. The technological branch, with its focus on improvement through robotic implants, was an impressive spectacle of metal and circuits intertwined with human flesh. Individuals in this branch wore shiny exoskeletons that amplified their strength and endurance, turning them into imposing mechanical warriors. Their metallic limbs were agile and precise, and their skin was protected by a layer of sturdy polymer. These cyborgs possessed enhanced firearms powered by energy, propellers for exceptional mobility, and advanced sensors that granted them superhuman perception of their surroundings. On the other hand, the biological branch represented the next step in the evolutionary scale based on medical knowledge. These beings exhibited astonishing diversity in their physical characteristics. Some had bulky, muscular bodies capable of withstanding severe damage and directly confronting physical threats. Others possessed mutated limbs, such as wings that allowed them to fly or sharp horns that provided formidable defense. Their skin had become sturdier, and in some cases, parts of their bodies were protected by a bone exoskeleton, granting them additional resilience. Some individuals had even developed a collective coordination, a hive mind that allowed them to act in synchrony and with superior tactics. Amidst this chaos, there still existed those who had not been modified in any way. These normal humans watched with fear and desperation as disputes between the two evolved branches intensified day by day. They gathered in ghettos, trying to protect themselves from the bloody clashes that occurred in the streets. The clashes between the biological and technological branches were fierce and gut-wrenching. In the desolate and darkened streets, gunfire erupted, accompanied by the deafening roar of explosions. The cyborgs of the technological branch advanced with firm steps, their gleaming exoskeletons shielding them from enemy attacks. Their energy weapons fired blazing beams, incinerating everything in their path. Meanwhile, the mutants of the biological branch moved in bursts of astonishing speed. Their agile and muscular bodies twisted in a deadly dance, leaping between debris and evading enemy projectiles. With sharp horns and twisted claws, they tore through cyborgs with brutal force. With each conflict, the rivalry between the two branches escalated. The technological branch excelled in combat power but relied on technology, resources, and energy to sustain itself. Meanwhile, the biological branch showcased impressive adaptability and versatility, although they were physically less powerful. In the midst of this dispute, the normal humans warned about the consequences of forcing evolution and feared the grave problems it could bring. Violence and discontent multiplied as time went on, as each branch strove to improve and surpass the other. People underwent increasingly extreme modifications, pushing their bodies to the limit, just to avoid falling behind in the evolutionary race. Finally, the inevitable came, a civil war pitting the technological branch against the biological branch. The unmodified humans remained on the sidelines as much as possible, but ultimately became caught up in the devastation and chaos. However, a group of unmodified humans, weary of the violence and bloodshed, decided to take drastic measures to end the war. Aware that the only solution was to combine both evolutionary branches, they immersed themselves in months of steady and intensive training. They learned to utilize the cybernetic technology of the technological branch and injected themselves with the biological enhancement potions of the medical branch, adapting their bodies to the resulting mutations. Thus emerged a new branch, the biotechnological branch. With their combat superiority, they began decimating the other two branches. The carnage was unimaginable. They seemed invincible despite their lower numbers. With tactical superiority and overwhelming efficiency, the biotechnological branch annihilated the mutation labs of the biological branch and dismantled the technology of the technological branch. The biotechnological branch, now composed of the unmodified humans who had fused both evolutionary branches, confronted the remnants of the technological and biological branches. In this new war, the scenes of combat were even more intense and harrowing. The biotechnological beings advanced with astonishing coordination. Their bodies merged with cybernetic implants and biological mutations. Their movements were fluid and precise, every action calculated to inflict maximum damage. The superiority of the biotechnological branch became evident in every encounter. Their technological knowledge and biological adaptability allowed them to overcome the challenges that the other two branches had separately faced. The cyborgs and mutants, worn down and decimated by previous wars, couldn't withstand the combined strength and strategic prowess of their opponents. After a fierce struggle, only a few thousand individuals remained from the two evolved branches. They no longer posed a threat and would eventually die a natural death. Peace seemed to have finally arrived in the world, but the story took another turn. Over time, the biotechnological humans began paying a high price for their enhancements. Their bodies, pushed beyond human limits, began to fail and succumb to exhaustion. Gradually, they died, victims of their own pursuit of supremacy. Decades passed, and only the unmodified humans remained standing. Though many had perished as collateral damage in the war, the survivors beheld a world of peace. Despite the technological regression, the sacrifice had been worth it to live in harmony. Now, in a peaceful world, the unmodified humans found a new purpose and began rebuilding a society based on equality and mutual understanding.